It's time to say goodbye to hold music and say hello to fast customer support with Service Cloud. With trusted AI and data working together, you can skip long wait times and deliver efficient, personalized service right away, all while keeping support costs low and more customers happy. Reimagine your customer support with the #1 AI CRM for service. Learn what's possible at salesforce.com/products/service.
My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You are listening to Age of Jeremy. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm the co-founder of Age of Radio and 3T Fitness, and, well, other businesses that I am working on. This podcast is about everything that I learn and the trials and tribulations it took to learn them. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Age of Jeremy. Welcome to the show. I am so happy that you are here. If this is your first time here, you are listening to all the cool shit that I'm trying to do in my life. I am the CFO and co-founder of 3T Fitness. I am the CEO and co-founder of Age of Radio, and somehow I also have a banking career that hopefully over the next couple of years will slowly wind down and I'll do my own financial practice. But in the meantime, I give financial advice on this podcast, along with explaining the cool shit that I'm trying to do to build my businesses and try to help the listeners realize that the best thing that you can do with that extra $100, it's not investing in an index fund. It's not buying the newest stock. It's taking that $100 and investing it either in yourself to start your own business or purchase an asset of some kind to help earn revenue for your business. I believe that everybody should have a side hustle. I don't necessarily, we're always going to need workers and we're always going to have workers. I hope that we can start moving to more co-op places where the workers have ownership and voting rights for the board of directors. That's why corporations are probably one of the best entities, and we don't give corporations enough credit for the way that they're designed because of all the terrible shit that they do. But I digress because this is a very special podcast for me. But before I go into that, let us remind you to go and follow me on Age of Jeremy on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok at Age of Jeremy. That's where I spend most of my time because I love TikTok a lot. Just being real. It's fun. If you don't have TikTok, you should get TikTok. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I say some stupid shit throughout the day, maybe 1 to 4 times a day. You can hear my musings. And it is at Jeremy Q. No, Age of Jeremy Q. I never remember. They're always different. And if you want to be part of our 3T Fitness Warrior Academy, follow my good friend John Vasquez on TikTok, or my good friend Kevin Anytime on TikTok, or 3T Warrior Labs on Instagram, or Coach JV on Instagram. We're everywhere. On TikTok, we have close to 700,000 followers. Me, myself, I have like 5,100 followers. So if you could go to Instagram and follow me, that'd be great. Or you can follow me on TikTok because I have like 200 followers on there. But again, it's not the followers. It's about the content and reaching the people that need to hear that content at that specific point in time. Now, with our 3T Warrior program, you can learn a lot about cryptocurrency and gaining generational wealth, which is where I want to kick off the news today. Gonna make sure that I'm telling you about the cool stuff that's going on. Something amazing happens on Wednesday this week, I believe it is. I want to say it's this week, but after I looked at the date, I feel like it might be next week. No, Wednesday this week. I think it's Wednesday this week, April 14th. Coinbase. Coinbase is going on sale on the stock exchange. I believe on the NASDAQ, if I'm not mistaken. NASDAQ. NASDAQ, NASDAQ. It's going to have the ticker symbol coin, which is cool as shit. If you know me, I base a lot of my buying decisions on whether something's cool or not. I'm just half kidding. So on Market Watch, where we get a lot of our news, and you should follow Market Watch and join Market Watch and sign up for Barron's and get Market Watch for free. I believe how that works. Not 100% sure. I hate Fox and News Corp, but I buy Wall Street Journal, Barron's, and Market Watch. But anyway, that being said, Coinbase is going to go public. And that's probably the most exciting news because cryptocurrency is booming. But there's some really interesting statistics in this Market Watch article. It's an opinion article. You can go on the in the show notes and get a link to the Market Watch opinion article. So should you buy Coinbase? The valuation is ridiculous based on this math. And I think Coinbase actually might have started going live or prepping to go live. Looks like it's up 3.70%. I don't look. The point of this is go and look at what the price is. I'm not going into that. What I want to talk about is whether or not you should buy it no matter what the price is. Because the problem is that it is completely ridiculously overvalued. Now, before I mention that, if you don't know what Coinbase is essentially a Coinbase is a app. It's a brokerage house. Okay, they have a custodian, they have a pro version, which is what I have, and then they have just a traditional brokerage house. Now, what it allows you to do is allows cryptocurrencies to set their coin up for a stock exchange, so you can buy and sell those coins just like you would on a foreign exchange. If you bought and sold foreign exchange on, say, TD Ameritrade, or if you uh, bought any other type of stock on a brokerage account. That's what a brokerage account is. Okay. And so essentially it lets you buy the coin and sell the coin. It traditionally also gives you what's called a wallet if you're new to cryptocurrency. And it's interesting because in this article, it says that 66% of adults still don't know what cryptocurrency is or don't own any, which is really important because the way that Coinbase makes its money right now, for the most part, is through fees. So every time I go and buy some Ethereum, right, because I'm really bullish on Ethereum, if I go and buy Ethereum, I have to pay a small percentage to the brokerage house, right, for doing the transaction for me or whatever. That's their fee, and that's how they make their money. The problem is that Coinbase's expected valuation of 100 billion implies that its revenue will be 1.5 times the combined 2020 revenue of two of the most established exchanges in the marketplace. That's the Nasdaq and the ICE, and ICE, that's the Intercontinental Exchange. It's the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. And so that being said, we're saying that Coinbase is worth 100 billion. Now, when some analysts kind of look at that, they're kind of like, this is really blown out of the water. Market Watch's calculation, who wrote this article, I don't know who that person is. Let's see who it is. It is David Trainer, Guile Gusk II, and Matt Schuler, if you're into journalists. And it says that Coinbase should really be 18.9 billion in revenue. So that's a little crazy, because it's valued at 100 billion. And the last time we saw ridiculous valuations like this, I mean, we've been seeing it for a while now because valuations are effing ridiculous. But essentially what's happening is that similar to what happened when the internet started. And they're saying that cryptocurrency is going to be as big as the internet. Now, I think cryptocurrency can be as big as the internet. It just has a long way to go because there's a lot of education that has to go into place. We have to have more people take on the technologies that are underneath there. We're going to eventually get to a point where the coins aren't going to be continuously being minted. Those are going to provide higher valuations for those coins. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into cryptocurrency that a lot of people don't know. So right now, it's just people are going on there and buying it. They're seeing that it's going up. They're purchasing it, not really understanding what is blockchain, not really understanding what deregulated apps are, I think is what DApp stands for, not really understanding what how Dash transfers money, how Ripple works, or XRP, the technologies that are behind them. And if you follow me on TikTok or you follow my partner, John, one of the things that we're always talking about is that you need to have a good understanding of the underlying technologies behind them, because as more and more people use those technologies, more and more cryptography is going to have to go into that place. It's going to be minting more of those coins. Those coins will eventually run out and the values of those coins will go up, is essentially my thinking behind it. Your thinking might be different. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, again, it's Age of Jeremy Q, or shoot me something on Instagram or TikTok at Age of Jeremy. I would love to have conversation or bring you on the show and we could talk even more about cryptocurrencies, because that's one of the things that we're going to be going more into. Now, I said I'm bullish on Ethereum. I'm not bullish on all of the cryptocurrencies. I'm not even 100% sure I'm bullish on something like NFTs, or how I know how NFTs work, but like, I don't know if I'm bullish on all that. I am bullish on Ethereum. But back to the main point at hand is, should you buy Coinbase? Well, Coinbase is going to be one of a kind right now. So if you buy Coinbase, you can probably get a short-term jump. I would wait for it to go public. It'll probably jump a little bit, then fall down That's traditionally what happens with IPOs. Go in and buy it, hold it for a year or two, see what other competitors come into the market. Because a lot of the times, what's going to happen with these houses that we've seen over the last 15 years is that these banks that have these brokerage platforms, they slowly reduce their fee revenue. So it comes to the point like a competitor is going to come in, right, against Coinbase and offer zero money to purchase the coins, right? It might have like a similar model like how Robinhood's model work, where it's an intermediary, a different type of intermediary. They get a kickback when they sell certain stocks, I believe is how it works. And so if more and more houses are coming into this and offering zero fees, right? Then how is Coinbase going to make the money that it needs to make? But if you have a good, innovative company, and this is where it's difficult to kind of gauge this, is because if you have an innovative company, they're going to diversify the way in which they make revenue. And that's really important. And the best way to get an idea about that once it goes public is looking at its annual reports and its quarterly presentations that they do to shareholders so that you have an idea of what Coinbase's strategy is. Because if it looks like Coinbase is going to have a really good strategy of how it's going to increase its revenue and it has a good board of directors that are governing it, then it is possible that it can become one of the best, finance or uh, tech finance companies in existence. And it's also first, so it might be something that you want to purchase. Me personally, again, I don't currently have a series of any kind to give financial advice for money, but I'm going to buy some of Coinbase and just hold it. I don't know how much I'm going to purchase of it at this specific point in time, but I know that when it comes on the market, because I work for a bank, I have to go through different loopholes before I can purchase stocks. And so I'm going to buy some because this is great, because I am a big advocate for deregulated currency, but I'm also an advocate for co-op corporations. So kind of do something good and do something bad at the same time, I guess, by supporting Coinbase, but also supporting the government's lack of or the government's reduction in regulation of the currency. I'm also a big fan of us having chips in us and transferring money that way. And people think I'm crazy, but I apparently am a big advocate for what the revelations of the Bible talk about. I guess again, in a perfect world, I would like to consider myself someone that unites the world, and if that means being a part of the end times, I guess so be it. I don't know, but I'm going to be buying Coinbase. That doesn't mean that you should. Go and do your research on it. Again, $100 billion valuation. That's really high. It looks like it's more like an 18 to $20 billion valuation. And if you really think about it, that actually makes more sense. I cannot see it being worth $100 billion when all it does is sell coin and take small fees. And the only reason why it boosted last year is because everybody was crypto crazy. Like everybody and their mother now that I know are talking about crypto, but it's still not a really high part of the population, really. The other thing too is you're going to have a lot of competitors start going public too. So we're going to have a big a public run on this. And I guess the best ones are going to win. You're going to have Gemini probably. You're going to have Bitstamp. You're going to have Kraken. You're going to have Binance or Binance. Binance. It's really popular. I should probably learn how to say it properly because it's probably one of the biggest ones. And it works really, really, you utilize the Binance technology to do pancake swaps, which I'll be doing some videos here over the next couple of months once we start getting the Age of Jeremy YouTube channel set up. But I don't know. It's going to have a lot of competition, and they're going to race to who can get to zero fees. So if they're racing to get to zero fees, how are they making their money? Are then they going to start becoming a lender and lend out the money like a bank would for the money that they're holding? Because I know with Coinbase, you can put money in a vault and it locks it up. So I believe it locks it up. I believe you have to lock it up for a period of time when it's in a vault. And there's different regulations that go into that. But if that's not exactly how the vault works, because I don't use it, then they could create something like a vault. With a lot of the cryptocurrencies, you lock it up for a period of time because it creates liquidity for the company that's buying and selling them. So they know that they have that currency in stock when people start selling it. So I don't know. I would say start researching it. If you really want to learn the nuts and bolts of it, if you go to Manning Publications, Manning Publications, or O'Reilly Publications, they have some really good books on blockchain and on creating Ethereum dApps that you can kind of get a better understanding of the technology that's behind it, because the technology is here to stay. And because the technology is here to stay, the coins will be here to stay. Whether or not we start ending up using them as a replacement for dollars, which I'm an advocate for, or US dollars, or what we call fiat currencies, if we start using these cryptocurrencies instead of fiat currencies, that's what I would like to see us get to. But it's probably going to be, it's in its infancy. So we might see this for the next couple of years or so, and next 10 or 20 years really growing this. So if you end up buying Coinbase, I would say, keep it for the long haul. That's what I'm going to do, because as I always say, you buy a stock and you keep it, and you only sell it if you absolutely have to. Never be emotional about your money. It's one of the hardest things to do, even easier to say. We'll be right back after this.
Get out of the trenches of tedious tasks like managing order fulfillment and start growing your business with ShipStation. They'll help increase profitability by automating your workflow with their simple, easy-to-use dashboard. With it, you can pretty much do everything you need to quickly and easily. Update order information, print labels, compare rates, optimize shipments, and even set up automatic delivery notifications. And it doesn't matter where you sell. Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, ShipStation can integrate pretty much anywhere online. Another great thing about ShipStation? They can help reduce costs with industry-leading discounted rates from some of the biggest mail carriers. You might even be able to get up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. So, make this year your most profitable one yet. Sign up for your free 30-day trial at ShipStation.com and use the code Spotify. That's ShipStation.com with the code Spotify.
All right, welcome back. I'm going to slow down for a minute here. I probably went too fast on that news, so my apologies. Prior to this, I was ranting and raving about my dissatisfaction of dentists. I don't know if you've ever seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but there is a great episode where the chief goes on, not the chief, where the captain goes on about how doctors really aren't doctors. And I was just on one of those kicks. I had a bad experience with a dentist today, interacting in a business setting, not in like me going and seeing a dentist. So I was ranting and raving about that. Captain Holt, that's his name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Captain Holt was interrogating a dentist that was kind of narcissist, as a lot of dentists that I've done business with are. Not business like me getting my my teeth cleaned and so forth. But anyway, so I was kind of still all jacked up on that when I started doing the news, and I think it kind of came through. So this is a very special podcast today, because this is my very first interview that I have ever done really on anything. Now, I've been on the radio before, on two radio shows, one in Arizona, this Money something or other. I think it's a Money Radio. I think it is. I was on that a few years ago when me and John were trying to get our JV Impacts brand going, that eventually converted into 3T Fitness. And then we were also on another radio show, but I don't remember what for, when we released one of our books, but I don't remember which book it was. So my apologies. But I have been on the radio. I love being on the radio. I love talking. Radio is a lot different than podcasting, but I hope one day that we have our own radio, or we will have our own radio stations. It's without a doubt in my mind. As soon as I can buy one, I will. Even if it's in like some hunky dink small town and we just got to grow from there. Just radio's amazing. Talking, hearing people talk is amazing. But I've never like done an interview. Like it in those radio interviews, people were asking me questions, but really sitting down and diving deep with someone, it's so entertaining. Now I understand why people like doing it. But I really like diving deep into important questions about their lives and how they ended up being where they were at. And one of the things that we talk a lot about on this show is side hustles, because I feel that people are, and I use this term very lightly, just in the sense that this is the word that's been used throughout time when we talk about communism and the capitalist workforce, that they're slaves. Obviously, they're not really slaves, which is a horrendous thing that has happened to people throughout history. But they're similar to slaves, and that's the word that's usually used with it. But I don't want people to be slaves to corporations. I don't want them to be slaves to the workforce that they're doing. I want people to do the things that they enjoy. And if that ends up being with a company, I hope that they can have a great career with that company and they accomplish the things that they want in their life. So I want to hear from people that are working in their jobs, or they're trying to start their business, or they're trying to start their side hustle, so I can learn things. And then so hopefully I can teach them things, and then that conversation can teach you guys something. So this very first interview that we're going to listen to now is with my cousin, actually, Tiana. I'm not going to say her last name just because, I'll be honest, I didn't double check with her and see if she wanted her last name out there. It's Tiana. Now, Tiana works in the financial services profession. She's a single mother. I've known her whole life because I'm her cousin. And she is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She's chosen to use her adverse upbringing to change lives and the trajectory of her life through pursuing education and the hearts of people. One of the things that I love about listening to her is because in social media, we're always seeing things, or at least I'm always seeing things like, you don't need an education, all of this stuff. But an education is really what brought me out of um oppression, or brought me out of poverty. And it's the same thing for her. We her she lived in a different, in a much more impoverished um uh, parts of her upbringing were different than mine. But we were both, in poverty, and seeing both of us come up out of that, now that I'm in my late 30s and she's in her early 30s, I believe, that we are, making six figures a year, each of us. We have multi businesses. It's just great to hear her talk about her success in life, and how grateful she is, and all the things that she's learned along the way. And again, we'll have her back on. This was kind of a test run interview just to get me used to it, kind of, and see. But it's really interesting. So, without further ado, here we go. I guess a good place to start is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Generic opener.
Okay. I am. A lot of people don't want to tell their age, but for the sake of people that do listen, because I think that's important to know these days, because everyone wants to know, like, okay, she's a woman, but what is she doing? And I may or may not talk about all of the businesses that I do, but I know in one of them in particular, I'm like a nana in the business because everybody's so young. But I'm 34. I have a bachelor's in finance and economics from the Colangelo School of Business. I have a certificate in life and career coaching from GCU. And I'm currently a principal consultant at a global banking and fintech firm. So that's what I do. Yeah. And on the side, so you would think that would be enough, and that's paying the bills and all that good stuff. But we all know there was a pandemic recently, and I was completely impacted. And I don't get stimulus, right? Because when you have a different income bracket, like it's literally you rely on yourself, which is one of my recent posts here on Instagram. But I have two side businesses that I do. Two of them are multi-level marketing. And then another one is I do interior design. So that's a lot. I definitely am a multi-passionate person and entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you're a busy entrepreneur. So with for your company that you do so you work 8 hours or more a day as a global finance, for the global finance company. Is that correct?
I do. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what do you do? What do you do for them? Like, what does your day-to-day look like in that?
Gosh, it's a lot of things. If I have an engagement that I'm on and supporting personally. I obviously work with the clients that are associated with it. I support other principals within the firm, handle their engagements. So maybe there's just a lot of work, task driven that needs to be completed. I'll support that. Or I do a lot of business development. I've produced podcasts for the organization, which is nice. And those obviously get posted onto LinkedIn, and creating content. So we do a lot of our own content creation, which is really nice as well.
Oh, that's really, really great. That's cool. So how did you get into that company, or what made you want to work for that company?
Oh man, I won't say the name of the company for the sake of the podcast,
right,
because I have to get a lot of things approved.
Yeah,
however, I have worked in financial services since 2009. I never thought that I would work in financial services. So, we have an aunt in the family who's worked for banking, and she always encouraged me to go work at the bank. You'll be fine. And so I'm like, okay. So I was actually coaching track. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Had a daughter at 21. So my daughter's 13 now. Worked at the bank. So started at Bank of America, moved my way into Merrill Lynch. I worked for Wells Fargo, managed at Freedom Financial, also known as Freedom Debt Relief for a while, Blackhawk Network. And then I love leading and I love process improvement. I'm Greenbelt Six Sigma trained, and consulting in the financial services sector, with banking and fintech, which is what my focus is. I'm able to utilize all of my experience to now go and help improve processes within multiple organizations versus just the one that I'm at. So I do enjoy it. So it's like that brain part of your life. But I thoroughly enjoy my side businesses. I'll just say that.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So do you see yourself doing your career at that company, or is moving more into your side hustle or to your business stuff what you want to do?
It's a side hustle for me because I have spent a lot of time figuring out who I am. And that is one thing. Like, you know how a lot of this self-development's out there today, and it's like, find out who you are, really rely on yourself, like know thyself. I love listening to those because I'm not convicted anymore. I'm like, I do know myself. Okay, so now it's just about that transition and what does it look like? And I think that if we were brought up differently in the school system and, just in the home life, none of us may not have had a corporate job, right? Or relied on certain things that we do today.
Oh, yeah.
So that I feel like I know my gifts. A lot of people don't know what their gifts are, which is why I help people when it comes to life and career coaching today, which is one of the most fascinating things I do. But it's like, how do I say this? It's like having you need to get somewhere and you have this really super nice car in the garage, but you're just like, you're still driving this other car that you still get places, you still get food or get money, but you're like, if I just drove this car, I would get there faster, better, and I'd be happier, it'd be more fun. Right. Yeah. And it's just a matter of actually taking the keys to that car, which is me using my gifts that I will get there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know you'll get there. I obviously you're my cousin, so I've known you my whole life, or your whole life.
Your whole life.
Yeah. And so I definitely know that you have that drive, which, that drive piece of it, you had mentioned something a moment ago about, people having different upbringings or going to different schools or backgrounds. And I've had the fortunate, I'm fortunate because you let me edit your podcast when you release the podcast episodes. And I know on one of the podcasts that you did in the past for your show, your personal show, not your business's show, that you had talked about a little bit about your upbringing, and being, less fortunate, having to struggle and overcome that. How do you think that impacted, I guess, two things? One, why do you think that impacted your decision to get an education? One, and then two, how did that impact you on wanting to do your side businesses?
Oh my gosh, great question. And it's funny because I never really get to talk about this. A lot of times I choose not to, but I feel like that's my untapped little, situation here. So I love that you asked that. Yes, absolutely had an impact on me wanting to get my education. So I'm the first one and only one in my family of my mom, my dad, my brother and sister. I'm the middle child that has their degree. And I'm really grateful that it's in finance and economics, and no knock to anything that's general studies or anything like that, but it's really afforded me a really great career. I love education is something, even though I love the entrepreneur route now, education is something that no one can take away from you, no matter what, by the color of your skin or anything. And so as far as the side hustles, I saw hustle growing up, but it was a different kind of hustle. So it was like drugs, right? Or it was like, being in the hood and all of that stuff and, stealing, right? Like I saw my dad do a lot of that just to literally put food in our mouths, like that day. And so I just didn't get it. And so then what was the pivotal moment for me was to know that there's more and my parents were missing something. I lived actually in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 of us, like 5 minutes from where I live now. And it's amazing. So one of my friends came to pick me up one day because we didn't have a car to go to a birthday party and she lived in the Biltmore. And if anybody knows where that is, it's super multi-million-dollar everything. And they had a Lexus SUV and we didn't even have a car. And I'm like, man, my parents are missing something. Like I'm not wearing Old Navy. Like Old Navy's the thing. Now Old Navy, I mean, I go my daughter Brielle's spoiled. She can wear Old Navy anytime she wants. Right. But, and I thought to myself, I said, something's missing, right? Like I knew there was something better. So we lived in, another part of town recently, Chandler, but I moved back to this area, East Camelback Village, on purpose, because although I'm educated and I have a great job and a career, I wanted to show my daughter something different, the things I could not show her because I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And it's done just that for us. And a quick point on growing up in poverty. So I've learned to manifest. I've learned to really walk in abundance and live that route. I moved here making right under or a little over 6 figures. Actually, I was making like, holy cow, in order to live here, I think I got to step up a little bit because now Brielle's basketball and all this stuff. And internally, I knew I needed more money. I didn't know how it was going to come. Literally within a couple of weeks of moving into this neighborhood, I got a $30,000 raise at work.
Wow.
Like who says that? No one, right? Like a 20 or what is it? What was I, 33 at the time? 33-year-old mom, single mom, right? Living in this great place. And so, it's for me, the side hustle to answer this question is relying on myself and knowing that I'm so much capable of more and that nothing needs to be handed to me. And the biggest driver for me growing up poor was I would freak out if a permission slip was handed to me for even $5 because I knew my family didn't have it. And today I will be in the restroom and Brielle will slide a book order slip under the door. And for me, that is God's way of saying that it's not, it's different for Brielle and you did a good job. So that's my why for doing my side hustles for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. We don't hear a lot about that anymore, or at least I haven't in a while to hear people talk about their why a lot. I know that when I started my fitness center with my partner, John, and we were just focusing on like motivational stuff prior to getting our facility and then our online program. But like when we were doing that, like the whole purpose of it was just talking to people and trying to find out their why. And so I think that that's really good. You have to have a strong why, behind what you're doing, because just to say, I want to do this because I want more money, it will work in the short run. But I feel like for long generational wealth, you have to have something stronger driving you. So I think that is amazing to hear that. So with the side hustle piece of it, so you said you do MLM, right? Multi-level marketing, for anybody who's not familiar with the nomenclature. So with the multi-level marketing, so what are the 2 multi-level marketings that you do, if you mind sharing that? And then why did you choose those ones?
Okay. So the first one I started, I was doing Rodan and Fields. It's a skincare because my skin was all jacked up and I just couldn't, the women were so amazing. Everyone was so nice, but it just wasn't, I didn't get any traction, right? Like I wasn't excited about it. And at the time, financially, everything was perfectly fine. So the pandemic hit and I'm like, man, if I would have had a little drip coming in, something I can control during the pandemic, it would have been different. I was doing interior design and coaching and life and career coaching, but I wasn't working full time. Anyway, I found Monate. So it stands for Modern Nature. It is hair, skin, and wellness. And I've heard about it through a good friend during the pandemic. He's like, hey, you should sign up. I know these girls are killing it. You can get a Cadillac and all this stuff. And then I was like, okay, we'll see. I've done so many MLMs that I'm like, there's no way I'm trying another one, right? Now, no more money invested.
They're super easy to get excited about and just go all in.
They're
every
so
time
easy, right?
Yeah. Especially when you start having more money in your life, it's even easier to start them. Because I remember when I was younger and people were like, oh, do you want to do this multi-level marketing? I'm like, I can't afford to get started on that. But now as you progress in life and you have the means to do it, it's even way easier to be like, oh, that sounds great. I'll get involved with it. Yeah.
Here's $100. No worries. Yeah. It's so easy. But I mean, as I mature as a businesswoman and just a human being,
right.
You learn what your capacity looks like. And it's not where you're not capable. It's just wisdom. Right. So I started Monet, in short, loved it. Like, my hair is growing long. I don't really like to wear makeup, but I just started needing to take better care of myself because I'm getting older, and it's been amazing. And I had on my heart, whether it was from God but it was on my heart to recruit minorities for my business, because I just wanted to have all these women level up, a lot of single moms that I knew I wanted to see them level up. So I particularly recruit minorities for my teams. Obviously anybody's allowed to, or I wouldn't want anybody to be on my team. And I hate to say my team, but I want them to come and trust me in my leadership to get them where they want to be.
Yeah.
And so Legal Shield is the other one, which I really love, because part of me maturing financially and as a person was, okay, I have a daughter. What would it look and feel like for me to feel like I'm a responsible adult? One, to have life insurance, to have multiple streams of income, and to have a will prepared, and to have an accountant. So now I have an attorney, an accountant, a will, all my things where they need to be, right?
Yeah.
Which is important. Stuff. And so I have all the things, the things I have. And so now I'm just feeling so much better and so much more in control of my life. But Legal Shield allows me to help me do that for others. Like, I just spoke to someone today that they're opening up a car dealership, and they've experienced lawsuits, or they know that you can get a lot of them in that business, but to give them access to an attorney to review documents and warranties and things like that at a very low, if zero cost, that's adding value. And that was primarily in the Hispanic community, those car lots around the corners and, all that good jazz. So, I love what I do because, and I post a lot about this on social media. It's not even about the money for me. There was a moment when I first started, because I started Monet first and then Legal Shield maybe 60 days after. But in my Legal Shield mentor side note said, because I was going to quit Legal Shield. And he's like, yeah, it might be hard. Not a lot of people could be successful in 2 MLMs. And he was being genuine. He's such a good person. And I was like, well, damn, I'm going to try this. If someone's going to do this stuff, it's going to be me. And I have killed it, completely killed it, and grew. My team in Legal Shield is a lot larger than my Monet team, but people's lives are being changed. And I think that that's really special.
So what are some of the things that you do when you're managing the team, right? Because I know that I used to know this guy that did, he actually worked with me at the bank that I work for, and then he quit and just did this full time through, I think it was Nutra Life, or is that a thing? No, it's
I know it's probably one of those energy or
it's a really famous, a really big one. Herbalife, that's what it was. It was Herbalife.
Oh yeah.
And he did Herbalife, and he completely supplemented his income from working at the bank, and that was his life. And I think every Saturday and Wednesday, he had all team calls for his people, and then he would touch base with them throughout the week. Normal when you're running in a corporation, or if you're a manager, or what we think about how managers would run things. He did all of that with his MLM. So is that how you manage it, or what are some of the things that you do to help manage it as you grow?
Yeah. So effective. Well, I've been trying to do my power hours throughout the week. It doesn't work daily because my team on Monday is fairly small right now. So effective actually today, since it's Wednesday. Thanks for reminding me. 8:30. 8:30 we'll have a power hour. So that power hour will be broken down into maybe 20 minutes of social media development, 20 minutes of messaging, 10 minutes of some big questions that they might have, or it just might be, here I am, I'm a resource, ask me anything. What do you need help with? Are we responding to people? It could be them sending me their social media so that I can help them update it. Or placing orders. So it's just really being of service to them. We have a group chat that I send something motivating every single morning, remind them of flash sales. And I am always available. So I never say no. If they're like, can you get on a 3-way call? This girl is interested in this, or someone in Legal Shield wants to talk. Can you do a Zoom? Thankfully, I work from home. So I'm always available to support them, which is really nice. And I'm actually only doing for them what my mentors have done for me. And luckily to my team, my mentors have been some of the best. I've been in corporate for over a decade, and I have never had better leaders than I do in these 2 MLMs, which hands down is life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I think one of the things that causes that, and I find that to be kind of interesting, is that when you find people that are doing what they want rather than what they have to do, they are way better at what they're doing. So like to have those leaders in the MLMs, they want to be there. And you can literally tell that, like, it's a night and day when people are actually doing the thing that they probably should be doing.
Yeah, it's a special thing. And I'm leaning back right now because there's a quote up here from Jim Rohn, and I had to write it because a lot of times you can get discouraged and that you're doing, right? Being a parent, whatever. But the quote is, I don't have to do it. I get to do it. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I found, and I know you're very spiritual too, but I found the more time I spend in meditation and peaceful time and with God, that my time, my day expands. Like, I never think now, oh my gosh, I got to go to bed. Oh my gosh. And I wake up at 4:30 every single morning and I feel brand new. I feel refreshed. I just do what I got to do. And the time kind of meets me where I'm at and expands as I need it to. And since I heard that quote, spend more time with God, like, calm, peaceful prayer, whatever, and he will expand your day.
No, and there's a similar quote in 7 Habits of Effective People by Stephen Covey. And Stephen Covey, if I'm not mistaken, was a pretty devout Mormon. And one of the things that he talks about in that book is that he references someone that he knew, but the person had so much stuff that he had to do that day that he would spend like an extra hour in prayer. So like the more stuff that like you have to do, the more you need to spend that time with, divine, or like for me, for specifically being Buddhist, and like if I don't meditate in the morning or throughout the day or sometime, like it's weird how like just that meditation piece or spending time with your religion or whatever you want to call it, it just expands your day and you're able to get so much more stuff done. Like it's phenomenal.
It is. Like I've had a really stressful week. I know it's only Wednesday, okay, but it feels like it's been 3 Wednesdays. I know. But I know. I'm like, is it summer of 2022? Yeah. And I actually had to stop. I stopped and I just kind of like soaked it in. And you're right. It just gives you this whole new. I wish everybody can learn that, man. There's so much I feel like I want to teach people. Oh yeah. But I have to get out of my own way because sometimes I'll say, okay, they're not ready. And I'm like, well, who am I to say if they're not ready? Because maybe I'll tell them today, but they'll get it in a week or, but that's something. That's true. Also too, I've always, when it comes to that piece, I've always thought that like, if you share the knowledge, then the person that hears it, if they're ready to start it, they'll reach out to you. But like, I still feel like we need to share that stuff with people. Right? Like not sharing it because you don't think that they're ready doesn't make sense. But to me, like still share it, like do it in a kind way. And then if it touches them, then they'll reach out to you for more information. So yeah. So what's the so with the MLMs, is that what you want to transition to full time? I know we kind of touched on that a little bit ago, but like I know that you're eventually going to want to get into that. But is that what you're going to want to do for your business, or are you going to want to focus on your interior design? Gosh, good question. I think, I'm just going to put this out in the universe. So I want to be a wife so bad. I have no boyfriend. So this is kind of like really throwing it out there.
Well, so anybody wants to reach out, I'll put Tiana's in the episode description.
Yeah. Next time I'll brush my hair and we'll get on video.
We'll do it all on video next time. It'll be like,
please. Seriously. But I'm really like, I would love to be home, right? But I want to contribute because I'm really big on that. That would be something that I would be able to do these and just really change people's lives. I'm not fulfilled if I'm not helping other people succeed. So one of the reasons I do the MLMs is when I was in leadership or even now, I can't help somebody else get their income increase within this like organization or when I was in like banking. But I can do that with the MLMs. But I've been wanting to write. I have a lot of like I've been a single mom for 13 years. Who the heck signs up for that? Okay. But apparently I did
to tell people.
I have a lot of, I'm going to chat. What do they call it? A series. My series is 13 books. Like you're one, you're two. I already have that planned. So that's really been on my heart. I just have to, really sit down long enough to start it. I just really want to pour all the stuff out of me. Cause I feel like there's so much even more for me to learn from the wisdom, as perspective.
Yeah.
But I need to kind of dump a little bit to make room.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So how do you manage doing all of this then? Because you just said that you have been a single mother for 13 years. So that means that you're currently a single mother.
Yeah.
So how do you manage being a single mother, having the 2 MLMs and having the interior design business and your full-time job?
Yeah, well, I wake up early, and that time is huge for me because when I wasn't waking up early and I work out, so the better I feel about myself, the more I could just serve everybody else, right? So that's huge for me. My daughter's first, so I actually didn't say this, but I coach on a club track team, so I coach my daughter, the little kids, and she runs with the big kids, obviously, but I make sure that all the bases are hit, and that's a relaxation period for me, and everything's tied to my why. I enjoy everything I do. I've learned to not do things that I don't want to do. We even talked about dating. So I won't even go on a date with somebody if they're more excited about it than I am, because I just don't have the time.
That's true.
And so I just don't have the time. And so, yeah, it's honestly, it's back to what we just spoke about. It's spending that time with God, finally slowing down in life, understanding who I am and that there's a greater purpose for me to fulfill. And just being present where I'm at all times. I'm working. If I am running track and coaching, that's where I am. And I leave my phone in the car there. So, my phone, once we get off of this, I might have like 60 messages. So it's all the time.
So are you encouraging? So how does the stuff that you do play a part in encouraging your daughter to be what she wants to be? Like, are you pushing her to go to college, or are you pushing her to be an entrepreneur like yourself? Or like, how does all of the stuff that you're dealing with like affect how you're trying to raise her and what the adult is that you want her to be?
Oh, that's such a cool question. So, my daughter is like way better than me. Like, she's so wise, and it's God really, but Brielle, I raised her to find out who she is and what do you like to do. And I'm so that parent that's like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, if she wants to say that she wanted to be a marine biologist for a while. Now she actually looks up how to run her own business. She tells people about Monet because her skin has improved significantly. So a teacher complimented her skin the other day, and she's like, "Oh, my mom sells the skincare." And so, like, yeah,
that's really cool.
She loves, and so what I love is what I'm teaching my daughter, I guess, in a full sentence, is I'm teaching my daughter to know that she can survive off of using her 2 hands and her 2 feet and her whole body as a vessel. So, and I love that because I will share this. I've always wanted to share this out loud. So here it goes. When I was younger, I knew poverty. So I knew when you are broke, you're broke. You can live in a car. You can eat nothing, or you can, lie on your book reading thing to get a free pizza or whatever, right? Just to eat. But Brielle, parents out there who are listening, or those of you who haven't had kids but will, your kids know your bare minimum threshold. So Brielle knows the car she would have if she has nothing is a BMW. The place she lives in is super nice. Like, you know what I mean? She only wears Nike, and material things don't matter. I don't want anybody to think that that's what we're about, but you set the standard for where your kids have their bar raised. Yeah. And so if Brielle ever didn't have anything, she also knows that live in this kind of apartment because it's safe. And this is the income that you thrive for. My mom was making like $9 an hour when I was in high school with 3 kids. And so, but for me, Brielle, as a Black woman, so Brielle's Black, white, and Puerto Rican, but she's so dark, she thinks she's like full Black. I'm like, okay, whatever, just be brown. Okay. But she knows that her mom, has the ability to make over 6 figures. I'm glad and proud that she knows that that's possible. Right. She's not going to say, I can't stand when people say, oh, must be nice when they find out somebody makes good money, or, oh, must be nice when they have a nice car. It's certain to Brielle that she's capable of those things.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that's something too. It's one of the things that's always, something that I don't necessarily know if it's always bothered me, but anytime I've been around, because one of my best friends growing up, his family was very wealthy. And so when people would find out about that, they would say something similar, or that must be nice. And like, it's not
Mhm.
really that individual, like he had nothing to do with it. Like you were born, like
Sure.
he was born into that, and his parents worked really hard, or they were born in. Either way, it still's not necessary. Especially one of the things that I try to tell the list to mention to the listeners, or anybody else that I'm working with or doing stuff with, is that as long as you have all of your faculties, like your legs work, your arms work, and you have a traditional, don't have any big mental disorders, you can literally do anything that you need to do, and you can go out there,
Yeah.
make a life for yourself. Now, when you don't have those things, yeah, there can be, sometimes it might be more difficult, and some people need help, but for the most part, you can go out there and make the life that you want. So I think that that's great that you're teaching Brielle how to like look at, that she can have those things. And I think it's interesting with that standard, even if it is physical stuff, it doesn't matter. Like to have that and know that this is the life that I have, and I can make this, and I've seen my mom do this, then she can do amazing things. And it's really fun to see, or interesting, because I don't have kids of my own, but my niece, Danielle, my wife, her niece is living with us now, and she's 16. And so like, just to see the things that you're able to teach them, and then to see the talents that they have, because most of these kids that I've met these days have so much more talent than I had, like in almost anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm all like, how did you learn how to do, like, I mean, I have talent in some things, but when I see their level of talent and the ability to use technology and have it as a part of their everyday life, because I don't think we got in my house, I don't think my mom got a computer for us until like 2001, 2002. I think.
We didn't have a computer. I mean, maybe we had like, we did it.
Yeah.
I'm like still writing my school papers. I'm like, just don't ask, teacher, just read it.
And so just to see all the opportunities, I think that's great that you're teaching, that stuff to Brielle. So I think that's great. So, Tiana, I think that about does it. I don't want it to take up all of your night, and I think that we covered a lot of stuff. What I'm hoping to do is I can have you back on here, after I do a couple more interviews, and then have you back, and you can talk about new stuff that you're doing. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I would love that. Thanks for letting me kind of talk about some of that stuff. I think it's always nice to reflect and say out loud your why. And just for anybody that's listening, if you don't mind, if I just leave them with, just go and figure out a way, even if it's for 30 minutes a day, to do that thing that gets you excited, right? Whether it's right, or you do feel like you have something to share. A lot of the times when we feel like we have something to share, like you said earlier, we just need to share it.
Yeah.
And just to prove to yourself, and don't have to tell anybody, hey, I'm going to use my gift for 30 minutes, just so you know, but like, just do it for you, do it for you, and plant those seeds. As I've noticed in my life, that the more I do that, though, I attract more people. And the attraction of those people are the people that need you. It's not for you. You don't use your gifts for you. You use your gifts so that you can, really own your place on this planet. And that's important.
I know. That's great advice. So where can people find you if they want to reach out to you on social media?
Yeah. So I love Instagram better than Facebook. So Instagram is at Empowered by Tiana. So I'd love to connect with you, follow you back, see what you're into. And if anybody has their own like side hustle or cool story to share, I love to do IG lives with strangers to make friends and have people show or share their business or their excitement about whatever on my page.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely. And I'll put that, all of your information that you want me to in the show description or episode description, and then link it up to stuff so people can find you easier that way.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I know, a little privileged because I'm the cousin, but whatever it takes to get in the VIP line.
And I there's so much stuff we could probably have kept touching on too. So that's why I think it'll be fun to have you back, because I'd love to pick your brain about doing your success coaching that you do with people. You still do that, right?
Yes, I do, and I love it. I get hit up all the time with questions, and it's cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you too. I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. And I'll be listening in to all the other interviews as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Tiana.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Again, I want to thank you so much for listening to that. I hope you may, if you're listening to this part, hopefully you made it through the whole thing. And we'll be doing a lot more of these because I enjoy learning what people have to go through to get to where they're at. And I think that that's good for young entrepreneurs or even old entrepreneurs, or anybody really, trying to find their way in life. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Again, if you want to reach out to Tiana, please reach out to her at Empowered by Tiana. That link will be in the bio as well. And we'll be doing more of these. So please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. This is just the beginning of everything that we're doing here at Age of Radio and at Age of Jeremy. So please be part of the community. Again, follow me on Age of Jeremy on Instagram, Age of Jeremy on TikTok, and Age of Jeremy Q on Twitter. And make sure you join our podcast community on Facebook with Addicted to Podcasting. We will talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Age of Jeremy. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. If you can do me a favor, please rate this podcast if your podcatcher allows you to. Talk to you soon.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.